Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. So tonight I'm going to be reviewing this, the Hotone Ampero Mini amp modeler multi-effects pedal. So bit of background, this is currently on my pedal board. I've got an Electro Harmonics Soulful as my main drive, and then I've got this, the Boss SD1 as my lead tone. I want to keep things simple because I'm kind of singing with a band as well. So what I did use before I got this was the Electro Harmonics Canyon, which has got inbuilt multi effects, but obviously it's got the manual switching. I wanted to move to something which had all of the effects that I needed, but had more sort of configurable switches, but wasn't a full size multi effects pedal, if you see what I mean. I did start off looking at stuff like, you know, the Line 6 HX1, the old M5, you know, the Zoom multi-stomps. But then I saw this and I realised it's got configurable switching, manual switching. It's got all the effects built in. It's got a backup, you know, I can use amp modelling if ever my amp went down to go straight to the PA. It's got everything, you know, built-in tuner, everything, right? So this is what I went for. Something new, something different. I know it's got a touch screen that I've complained about in the past, but I think this could just be ticking all the boxes. So anyway, I'm just going to go through my first impressions with you. And let's start at the beginning, right? Oh, sorry about that, with the tuner. Okay, so that's just a double tap. Now, a few people have said that this is a pretty unresponsive tuner, but what I've found out is if you use the harmonic, it's a lot more accurate than it is just playing the open strings. So that was a little bit of a problem to start off with, but it's a good workaround. Use the harmonic and the tuner's fine, right? Okay, so if let's just get turn the effect off, right? So I've got a clean signal. This is my clean amp. Sorry, clean soul food. Nice and chunky. Kicking the SD1. And the idea is I want to use this for everything else. So say for example, if I want to add a bit of shimmer, that will get me there. Not quite as good as the shimmer on this, but almost, right? I just want to talk about the switching, which is, you know, the UI is quite intuitive. So what we've got here is if you just hold, it really just goes on this switch, right? So in preset mode, both of them are blue and it can go up and down through the presets. Now, if you hold down the first switch, you go into kind of a manual configuration mode. So I can turn the shimmer on and off. You know, and it can configure that in here by, you know, you can just target the controls. Now, you can only use this as the control pedals, but you can assign sort of multiple parameters to it. What I am going to do is, this has got an expression pedal, so I'm going to plug one of them in and use it for wah-wah and stuff like that as well, right? You can't actually, you can buy another foot switch, which like a dual foot switch, but you can only use either the expression pedal or the foot switch. You can't use both unless you get around it with USB MIDI, right? And this has got all the connections, by the way. You know, it's got USB out, headphone out, the expression pedal out, and it's got like a stereo out, but you need a sort of a wide cable if you want to go into, you know, potentially a PA and also an amp at the same time, but with cabinets on and off or whatever. It's fully configurable. It's brilliant, you know, and it's tiny. You know, fits on my pedal board. Your first impressions, I'm just bowled over by it. You know, full metal build, switches are great. It's brilliant. So anyway, that's the shimmer. I'll just take you through my presets. I think that's the best idea. Like I say, the UI is great. It's just, you don't need the manual for this pedal. So here's just some of the presets that I've set up. So this is just a chorus and a harmony. So it's just the chorus on its own. And then if I go into manual mode and click on that, get the harmony. And you know, I think the beauty with using sort of overdrive pedals with this is I can now kick in my lead tone, you know, separate to this unit, which is quite convenient for me. So that's the harmony. It's not a harmonist, you know, you can't determine the key of the harmony, it just goes through the intervals. But I've set this up in fifths and it works fine. As I say, it's not perfect, but for the price it gets you by a lot of situations, or most situations. So here's the delay. So off and then on. Bit of a lead. Octave. Which is actually a match for the Canyon, which had a great octaver. Tremolo. Which is an effect that the Canyon didn't have. I sort of had a budget with a vibe trem. Flanger. A bit of delay as well. You know, really nice, good quality effects. And also just set up a sort of an acoustic patch with the acoustic simulator. Bit of compression as well. And that's the beauty of having a multi-effects. You know, if you want something completely different, just create a patch for it and you're away. But yeah, like I say, the reason I got it was to integrate with my pedal board. Get rid of this pedal, have more convenient switching, have more effects available. I am going to set up a wah with the expression pedal, you know, but also, you know, keep everything that I know and love, you know, keep my distortion pedals, my overdrive pedals. I'm really impressed with it, to be honest. I mean, this is just a first impressions video, but the UI is just child's play, really. Everything is configurable. You know, you can set up these, you know, these quick, what they're called, actually. Let's see what they're called. You know, we'll go into global. No, we'll go into here. Quick access parameters. So these can be configurable. You can configure this to control one or more effects, like a control function. You know, see, I mean, I wouldn't use it, but it's even got a drum machine on it. In global, you can change the I/O. It's pretty rudimentary. You can set up the, you know, turn the cabs off and on if you want to have a Y cable and go direct to PA and direct into an amp or an FR at the same time. All that stuff. It's just, it's great. You know, so setting up a patch, you know, really simple. What you've got is, you've got sort of predetermined blocks like the delay, the reverb, the EQ, the amp. I mean, I'll be using that for recording. You know, it's got some great amp models on here as well. The only three that you can really configure though is FX1, FX2 and FX3. Bear in mind that FX3 only contains kind of the low DSP effects like the choruses or whatever, but FX1 and FX2 you can put in, assign any effect to those. I guess that's to save on DSP. Something else worth mentioning, this is not an Ampero 2. This is actually Ampero 1 technology, even though this is a recent unit and just condensed it into a smaller form factor. So yeah, if you were wondering, there's a few videos on that. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to use this for live. It's going to be my backup for live. If my amp goes down, I can just, you know, activate a cab sim, an amp sim, or whatever. I've already used it for practice through the headphones. It'll be better than, you know, an app on the iPad for recording electric guitar. It's just great. It's even got, you know, bass models in here as well, and acoustic models for plugging a, you know, acoustic guitar in. For £155, I think it's amazing. Let's put it that way. And it's solved a problem of mine, which is I wanted something intuitive and easy and small, but also powerful, so that if we're doing a sort of variety of music in the set, I've got the effects on hand. you know, does it have the variety of something like a Line 6 Helix, you know, where that's got all the, you know, the harmonizers and the polytunes and all that? No, it hasn't got that, but what it has got are your bread and butter effects, and they sound really great. You know, I love, but it's, you know, it's got the shimmer as well, which I'm gonna, you know, here we go. I mean, you can skip through the patches like this as well. There's various ways of doing it on the touch screen. I've just sort of fell into the habit of clicking the buttons. So yeah, and as I was saying, the shimmer, now this is great for just padding out passages. And then of course, solo. So now I've got the best of both worlds, right? I've got the drives I want, I've got the effects that I want on tap, and I've got a convenient way of switching between them, so I'm not twiddling knobs all the time. I've got my backup with the amp modeling. It's small, and also, you know, if I did want to change anything on the fly, it's not a complete nightmare like, you know, the Zoom G, you know, the Zoom G6, you know, or even something like the Boss GX100. You know, that's a lot more fiddlier than this. This is a lot simpler and a lot easier to navigate and get yourself around. It's great. I'm waffling. There's going to be many videos on this to follow when I get into the details about, you know, some of the effects. But for now, it's just... Thanks for watching. Bye.